Welcome to Toxic from Reddit, where real toxic relationship stories come to life. Here you'll hear true stories from people who experience toxic relationships from different perspectives. Partners dealing with cheating, manipulation, gaslighting, red flags, and all the emotional chaos that comes with loving someone who hurts you. Stories of betrayal, of finding strength to leave, of discovering the truth, of heartbreak, of healing, and the raw reality of toxic love. This is a real story, shared anonymously on Reddit. Some details have been changed to protect the identity of the people involved. Hi everyone, my name is Nathan. I'm 35 years old and I live in Denver, Colorado, and I need to tell you about the most frustrating and invasive situation that has completely taken over my life and is destroying my marriage, which is that 8 months ago, my mother-in-law showed up at our house with all of her belongings and announced that she was moving in with us. My wife didn't consult me about this decision and just expected me to accept it. I agreed to let her stay temporarily, thinking it would be for a few weeks. But now 8 months later, my mother-in-law has completely taken over our home. She criticizes everything I do. She undermines my authority as a parent. She treats me like a guest in my own house. She has turned my wife against me. And when I ask her to leave, she refuses, and my wife takes her side. And now I'm dealing with the reality that my marriage is falling apart because my mother-in-law has inserted herself into every aspect of our lives and my wife is choosing her mother over our marriage. I'm going to tell you this entire story from the beginning because the situation has escalated so gradually and so insidiously that you need to understand how we got to this point where I feel like a stranger in my own home. My wife's name is Lauren, she's 33 years old, and my mother-in-law's name is Patricia, she's 62 years old. Lauren and I met 7 years ago through mutual friends at a barbecue, and we hit it off immediately. Lauren was smart and beautiful and funny, and we had great chemistry from the start. We dated for about 2 years before I proposed, and during that time I got to know Lauren's family, including her mother Patricia. From the very beginning, I noticed that Lauren had an unusually close relationship with her mother, like they talked on the phone multiple times a day. Patricia was involved in every decision Lauren made, and Lauren seemed to need her mother's approval for everything. I thought this was a little strange because Lauren was a grown woman in her late 20s, but I also thought it was sweet that they were so close, and I didn't see it as a red flag at the time. Patricia was always polite to me, but I could tell that she was very protective of Lauren, and that she was evaluating whether I was good enough for her daughter. During our engagement, Patricia was very involved in the wedding planning. Like she had opinions about everything from the venue to the flowers to the guest list, and there were several times when Lauren would side with her mother over me when we disagreed about wedding decisions. I found this frustrating, but I told myself that it was just wedding stress, and that once we were married, Lauren would establish better boundaries with her mother. We got married 5 years ago in a beautiful ceremony, and the first year of our marriage was mostly good, although I did notice that Patricia called Lauren constantly, and that Lauren would often prioritize her mother's needs over our plans. For example, if Lauren and I had plans to go out to dinner, and Patricia called and said she needed help with something, Lauren would cancel our plans to go help her mother. I tried to talk to Lauren about this, and I explained that I felt like her mother was too involved in our marriage, and that we needed to establish some boundaries. Lauren got defensive and said that her mother was important to her, and that I was being selfish for asking her to choose between me and her mother. I told Lauren that I wasn't asking her to choose. I was just asking her to prioritize our marriage and to set some healthy boundaries with her mother. Lauren said that she would try to be more mindful of balancing her relationship with her mother and her relationship with me, but nothing really changed. About 2 years into our marriage, Lauren and I had our first child, a daughter named Emma, who is now 3 years old. When Emma was born, Patricia was at the hospital immediately, and she stayed with us for 2 weeks after we brought Emma home to help us adjust to being new parents. I appreciated the help at first, but Patricia was very controlling and very critical of everything I did. Like she would criticize the way I held Emma, the way I changed her diaper, the way I fed her, and she would constantly tell me that I was doing everything wrong. Patricia would also undermine my decisions as a parent. Like if I said that Emma needed to go to sleep, Patricia would say that Emma could stay up a little longer. Or if I said that Emma couldn't have a snack, Patricia would give her one anyway. I tried to talk to Lauren about this, and I explained that I felt like her mother was overstepping and that we needed to be a united front as parents. But Lauren said that her mother was just trying to help and that I was being too sensitive. After those 2 weeks, Patricia went back to her own house, but she continued to be very involved in our lives. Like she would come over unannounced multiple times a week. She would call Lauren constantly to give her parenting advice, and she would criticize me to Lauren behind my back. I knew that Patricia was criticizing me because Lauren would sometimes repeat things her mother had said, like your mother said that I'm not helping enough with Emma, or your mother said that I need to be more patient, or your mother said that I'm not a good provider. These comments hurt my feelings and made me feel like Patricia was trying to turn Lauren against me. But whenever I brought this up to Lauren, she would say that her mother was just concerned and that I was overreacting. About 3 years into our marriage, Lauren and I had our second child, a son named Liam, who is now 2 years old. When Liam was born, Patricia again came to stay with us for 2 weeks, and the same pattern repeated where she was controlling and critical and undermining. After Liam was born, I started feeling more and more frustrated with Patricia's involvement in our lives, and I started feeling like Lauren was prioritizing her mother over me and over our marriage. I tried to talk to Lauren about this multiple times, and I tried to explain that I felt like we needed to establish better boundaries with her mother, but Lauren would always get defensive and would accuse me of trying to keep her away from her mother. Lauren would say things like, "My mother is the only person who has always been there for me," or "My mother sacrificed everything for me," or "You're trying to isolate me from my family." I felt like I was in an impossible situation because I didn't want to isolate Lauren from her mother, but I also felt like Patricia was too involved in our marriage and was causing problems between us. About a year ago, Patricia's husband, Lauren's father, passed away suddenly from a heart attack. Lauren was devastated, and I was supportive and understanding, and I tried to be there for her during this difficult time. Patricia was also devastated, and she leaned heavily on Lauren for emotional support. After her husband died, Patricia started calling Lauren even more frequently, sometimes 10 or 15 times a day, and Lauren would drop everything to talk to her mother or to go over to her mother's house. I understood that Patricia was grieving and that she needed support, but I also felt like the situation was becoming unhealthy and that Patricia was becoming too dependent on Lauren. About 10 months ago, Patricia started talking about how lonely she was living by herself and how she didn't know if she could continue living in the house where she had lived with her husband because it was too painful. Lauren was very worried about her mother, and she would talk to me constantly about how concerned she was that Patricia was depressed and isolated. I suggested that maybe Patricia should see a therapist or join a grief support group, but Lauren said that her mother didn't believe in therapy and that she just needed family support. About 9 months ago, Lauren started suggesting that maybe Patricia should move in with us temporarily until she felt better and until she figured out what she wanted to do with her life. I was very hesitant about this idea, and I told Lauren that I didn't think it was a good idea for Patricia to move in with us, because I felt like it would create tension and would make it even harder to establish boundaries. Lauren got upset and said that I was being selfish and unsupportive, and that her mother needed us, and that it would only be temporary. I asked Lauren what temporary meant, and Lauren said maybe a few weeks or a couple of months, just until Patricia got back on her feet. I was still very hesitant, but I also didn't want to be the bad guy who refused to help his grieving mother-in-law. So I reluctantly agreed that Patricia could stay with us temporarily, but I made it clear that it needed to be temporary, and that we needed to establish some ground rules. Lauren agreed, and she said that she would talk to her mother about expectations and boundaries. About 8 months ago, Patricia showed up at our house with her car packed full of belongings, and she announced that she was moving in. I was surprised by how much stuff Patricia had brought, because Lauren had said it would just be temporary. But Patricia had brought multiple suitcases, boxes of personal items, and even some furniture. Patricia moved into our guest bedroom, and from day one, she started acting like she owned the place. Patricia would rearrange things in the kitchen. She would criticize the way I kept the house. She would comment on what I was eating. She would give me unsolicited advice about my job, and she would undermine my authority as a parent constantly. For example, I have a rule that our kids can only watch 1 hour of TV per day, but Patricia would let them watch TV all day when I wasn't home. I have a rule that our kids need to eat healthy meals, but Patricia would give them candy and junk food constantly. I have a rule that our kids need to go to bed at a certain time, but Patricia would let them stay up late. When I would try to enforce these rules, Patricia would say things like, "You're too strict," or "Kids need to have fun," or "You're going to give them complexes with all your rules." I tried to talk to Lauren about this, and I explained that I felt like her mother was undermining my authority as a parent and that we needed to present a united front. But Lauren would say that her mother was just trying to help, and that I was being too controlling, and that I needed to relax and be more flexible. I started feeling like I had no say in my own home, and like I was being outvoted by Lauren and Patricia on every decision. Patricia also started inserting herself into every aspect of our lives. Like she would invite herself to come with us when we went out to dinner. She would give Lauren advice about our marriage. She would comment on our finances. And she would even try to get involved in our sex life by making comments about when we should have another baby. I felt like I had no privacy and no space, and I started feeling suffocated in my own home. About 6 months ago, I sat Lauren down and told her that I felt like her mother had been with us long enough, and that it was time for Patricia to move back to her own house or to find her own apartment. Lauren got very upset and said that her mother was still grieving and still needed support, and that I was being cruel and heartless for wanting to kick her out. I said that I wasn't trying to kick her out, but that it had been 2 months, and that we had agreed this would be temporary, and that I felt like we needed our space back. Lauren said that her mother had nowhere else to go, and that she couldn't afford to live on her own because she was on a fixed income. I said that we could help Patricia find an affordable apartment, and that we could help her financially if needed, but that I didn't think it was healthy for her to continue living with us. Lauren accused me of being selfish and of not caring about her mother, and she said that if I loved her, I would be willing to help her mother. I said that I did want to help her mother, but that I also wanted to have my own home and my own marriage, and that I felt like Patricia living with us was damaging our relationship. Lauren started crying and said that I was making her choose between her mother and her husband, and that it wasn't fair. I said that I wasn't making her choose, I was just asking for us to have some boundaries and some space. Lauren said that her mother was staying, and that if I had a problem with it, then maybe I should leave. I was shocked that Lauren had said that, and I realized that she was prioritizing her mother over our marriage. About 5 months ago, things got even worse because Patricia started acting like she was the woman of the house, like she would cook dinner without asking me what I wanted, she would do the laundry and would criticize the way I folded clothes, she would clean the house and would rearrange things, and she would even answer the door when my friends came over and would act like she was the hostess. I started feeling like a guest in my own home, and I started feeling like Patricia was trying to replace me as Lauren's partner. I also started noticing that Lauren was acting more like Patricia's daughter than like my wife. Like she would defer to her mother on every decision. She would seek her mother's approval before making plans with me, and she would prioritize her mother's needs over mine. For example, if I wanted to have a date night with Lauren, Patricia would say that she felt lonely and would ask Lauren to stay home with her, and Lauren would cancel our date night. If I wanted to go on a family vacation with just Lauren and the kids, Patricia would say that she wanted to come too, and Lauren would invite her. I felt like I had lost my wife, and like Patricia had taken over my marriage. About 4 months ago, I tried to talk to Patricia directly, and I explained that I appreciated her help, but that I felt like it was time for her to find her own place. Patricia got very offended and said that I was trying to abandon her, and that she couldn't believe I was being so cruel to a grieving widow. Patricia said that Lauren had invited her to live with us, and that she had every right to be there. I said that Lauren had invited her to stay temporarily, not permanently, and that it had now been 4 months and that we needed our space back. Patricia said that this was her home now, and that she wasn't going anywhere. I was shocked by Patricia's response, and I realized that she had no intention of leaving. I went to Lauren and told her about my conversation with Patricia, and I said that we needed to sit down together and tell Patricia that she needed to move out. Lauren got angry at me and said that I had no right to talk to her mother without her present, and that I had upset her mother and made her feel unwanted. I said that I had tried to be polite and respectful, but that Patricia had made it clear that she had no intention of leaving, and that we needed to do something about it. Lauren said that her mother was staying, and that I needed to accept it and stop complaining. I said that I couldn't accept it, and that I felt like our marriage was falling apart because of her mother. Lauren said that if our marriage was falling apart, it was because I was being selfish and unsupportive, not because of her mother. About 3 months ago, I started sleeping in the basement because I couldn't stand being in the same bedroom as Lauren, and because I felt like I needed some space. Lauren didn't even seem to care that I had moved to the basement, which made me feel even more disconnected from her. I started spending more time at work and less time at home because I couldn't stand being around Patricia, and because I felt like I had no place in my own home. My kids started asking me why I was always at work and why I didn't spend time with them anymore, and I felt terrible because I was letting Patricia drive me away from my own family. About 2 months ago, I suggested to Lauren that we go to marriage counseling because I felt like we needed professional help to work through this issue. Lauren agreed to go to counseling, but when we got there, she spent the entire session defending her mother and blaming me for being unsupportive. The therapist tried to help us see each other's perspectives, and the therapist said that it was important for us to establish boundaries with extended family, and that it was healthy for married couples to have their own space. Lauren got defensive and said that the therapist didn't understand her situation, and that her mother needed her. The therapist asked Lauren how long she thought her mother would need to live with us, and Lauren said that she didn't know, maybe indefinitely. I was shocked when Lauren said indefinitely, because that meant that she was planning for her mother to live with us permanently. The therapist asked me how I felt about that, and I said that I was not okay with it, and that I felt like my marriage was being destroyed by my mother-in-law living with us. The therapist said that it was important for Lauren and me to be on the same page about this issue, and that we needed to come to a compromise that worked for both of us. But Lauren refused to compromise, and she said that her mother was staying no matter what. After that counseling session, I realized that Lauren was never going to choose me over her mother, and that I was fighting a losing battle. About 6 weeks ago, I consulted with a divorce attorney to understand my options because I felt like I couldn't continue living this way. The attorney explained that if I wanted to get divorced, I would need to move out of the house and establish separate residences, and that we would need to work out custody arrangements for our kids. The attorney also said that because Patricia was living in our house, it could complicate the divorce proceedings, because Lauren could argue that she needed the house to care for her mother. I felt trapped, because I didn't want to leave my kids, but I also couldn't continue living in a situation where I felt disrespected and unwanted in my own home. About a month ago, things came to a head when Patricia criticized me in front of my kids. I had told my daughter Emma that she couldn't have dessert because she hadn't eaten her dinner, and Patricia said in front of Emma, "Your father is too strict, of course you can have dessert," and she gave Emma a cookie. I was furious, and I told Patricia that she had no right to undermine my parenting, and that she needed to respect my rules. Patricia said that I was a terrible father, and that my kids would grow up to resent me because I was too controlling. I lost my temper and I yelled at Patricia, and I told her that she needed to move out of my house immediately. Patricia started crying and ran to Lauren, and Lauren came out and started yelling at me for upsetting her mother. I said that I was done, that I couldn't live like this anymore, and that either Patricia leaves or I leave. Lauren said that if I wanted to leave, then I should leave, because her mother was staying. I packed a bag and I left the house, and I've been staying with a friend for the past month. Lauren has barely contacted me since I left, and when she does, it's only to talk about logistics with the kids, or to tell me that I'm being unreasonable. My kids keep asking when I'm coming home, and I don't know what to tell them because I don't know if I can go back to that situation. I've been continuing to see the divorce attorney, and I've been preparing to file for divorce because I don't see any other option. My attorney has advised me to document everything, including all the ways that Patricia has interfered in my marriage and in my parenting, because it could be relevant in custody proceedings. I've also been going to individual therapy to help me process everything that's happened, and my therapist has helped me understand that what I've been experiencing is a form of emotional abuse, and that Lauren and Patricia have been ganging up on me and making me feel like I'm the problem. My therapist has helped me see that I have been setting reasonable boundaries, and that Lauren and Patricia have been refusing to respect those boundaries. My therapist has also helped me understand that Lauren's relationship with her mother is enmeshed and unhealthy, and that Lauren has never really separated from her mother or established her own identity outside of being Patricia's daughter. My therapist has said that unless Lauren is willing to go to therapy and work on establishing healthier boundaries with her mother, the situation is unlikely to change. I've been thinking a lot about how I got to this point, and I've realized that there were red flags from the very beginning about Lauren's relationship with her mother. I've realized that I ignored those red flags because I loved Lauren, and because I wanted to believe that things would get better once we were married. I've realized that I should have insisted on clearer boundaries with Patricia from the beginning, and that I should have been more firm about my needs and my expectations. I've been thinking about other men who might be in similar situations, who might have mothers-in-law or other family members who have moved into their homes and taken over, and who feel like they have no say in their own homes. And I want to tell them that they are not alone, and that what they're experiencing is not okay, and that they have a right to set boundaries and to expect their partners to prioritize their marriage over their extended family. I want to tell them that it's not selfish to want your own space and your own home, and that it's not unreasonable to expect your partner to support you and to be on your team. I want to tell them that if their partner is choosing their family over their marriage, that's a serious problem, and that they need to seek professional help or consider whether the marriage is worth saving. And I want to tell them that they deserve to be respected in their own homes, and that they deserve to have a partner who values them and who prioritizes their relationship. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do next, and I've decided that I'm going to file for divorce because I can't continue living in a marriage where I'm not valued or respected. I'm going to fight for custody of my kids, because I don't want them growing up in an environment where Patricia is undermining my authority and where they're learning that it's okay to disrespect their father. I'm going to focus on building a new life for myself, where I have my own space and my own home, and where I'm not constantly walking on eggshells or feeling like a guest in my own house. I know that the divorce is going to be difficult, and that it's going to be painful for my kids, but I also know that staying in this situation would be worse for everyone. I've been thinking about whether I could have done anything differently, and whether there was a way to save my marriage, and I've come to the conclusion that I did everything I could. I tried to communicate with Lauren, I tried to set boundaries, I tried to compromise, I suggested counseling, and I was patient for 8 months. But Lauren was unwilling to prioritize our marriage over her mother, and Patricia was unwilling to respect my boundaries or to leave my home. I can't force Lauren to change, and I can't force Patricia to leave. So the only thing I can control is my own actions and my own decisions. And I've decided that I deserve better than to live in a situation where I'm disrespected and unwanted in my own home. About 2 weeks ago, I filed for divorce, and Lauren was served with the divorce papers. Lauren called me immediately and was shocked and upset, and she said that she couldn't believe I was actually going through with it. Lauren said that she thought I was just being dramatic and that I would eventually come back home. I told Lauren that I had been very clear about my feelings and my needs, and that she had chosen to ignore them and to prioritize her mother over our marriage. Lauren said that I was tearing our family apart and that our kids were going to suffer because of my selfishness. I said that our family was already torn apart and that it was because she had allowed her mother to take over our home and our marriage. Lauren said that if I would just come home and accept that her mother was going to live with us, we could work things out. I said that I was not willing to accept that, and that I needed a partner who would prioritize our marriage and who would set healthy boundaries with her family. Lauren started crying and said that she didn't want to get divorced and that she loved me. I said that if she loved me, she would have listened to me and would have respected my needs, but that she had chosen her mother over me repeatedly. Lauren asked if there was anything she could do to change my mind, and I said that the only thing that would change my mind is if Patricia moved out immediately, and if Lauren committed to going to therapy to work on establishing healthier boundaries with her mother. Lauren said that she couldn't ask her mother to leave, and that it would devastate Patricia. I said that Patricia had devastated our marriage, and that Lauren needed to make a choice. Lauren said that she couldn't choose, and I said that by not choosing, she was choosing her mother over me. That was the last conversation Lauren and I had, and since then we've only communicated through our attorneys. The divorce is moving forward, and we're currently working out custody arrangements and division of assets. I'm asking for joint custody of the kids, and I'm asking that when the kids are with me, Patricia is not allowed to be present. Lauren is fighting this, and she's arguing that Patricia is an important part of the kids' lives, and that it would be harmful to keep them away from their grandmother. My attorney is arguing that Patricia has been undermining my authority as a parent, and that it's important for me to have time with my kids without Patricia's interference. I don't know how the custody battle is going to turn out, but I'm prepared to fight for my rights as a father. I've been thinking about my future, and about what I want my life to look like after the divorce, and I know that I want to focus on being a good father to my kids, and on building a healthy and happy life for myself. I know that I want to find a partner who values independence and who has healthy boundaries with her family and who will prioritize our relationship. I know that I want to create a home where I feel respected and valued and where I have a say in the decisions that affect my life. And I know that I never want to be in a situation again where I feel like a guest in my own home or where I feel like my needs and my feelings don't matter. Thank you for reading my story, and if you've been through something similar, if you've had in-laws or family members move into your home and take over, if your partner has chosen their family over your marriage, if you've felt disrespected and unwanted in your own home, or if you've had to get divorced because your partner wouldn't set boundaries with their family, I would love to hear how you dealt with it and where you are now. I'm still going through the divorce process, still fighting for custody of my kids, still healing from the pain of losing my marriage, and still adjusting to my new reality. But I'm confident that I made the right decision by standing up for myself and by refusing to continue living in a situation where I was disrespected and devalued, and I'm hopeful that I will build a better and healthier life for myself and for my kids.